My name is Cindy Bell. I'm a member of Grace United Church, Weyburn. I am reading from the Good News Bible, Genesis verses 9 to 13. God blessed Noah and his sons and said, "Have many children, so that your descendants will live all over the earth. All the animals, birds, and fish will live in fear of you. They are all placed under your power. Now you can eat them as well as green plants. I give them all to you for food. The one thing you must not eat is meat with blood still in it. I forbid this because the life is in the blood. If anyone takes human life, he will be punished. I will punish with death any animal that takes a human life. Man was made like God, so whoever murders a man will himself be killed by his fellow man. You must have many children so that your descendants will live all over the earth." God said to Noah and his sons, "I am now making my covenant with you and with your descendants, and with all living beings, all birds and all animals, everything that came out of the boat with you. With those words, I make my covenant with you. I promise that never again will all living beings be destroyed by a flood. Never again will a flood destroy the earth. As a sign of this everlasting covenant which I am making with you and with all living things, I am putting my bow in the clouds. It will be the sign of my covenant with the world. Whenever I cover the sky with clouds and the rainbow appears, I will remember my promise to you and to all the animals that a flood will never again destroy all living beings. When the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between me and all living beings on earth. That is the sign of the promise which I am making to all living beings." Noah and his sons. The sons of Noah who went out of the boat were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan. These three sons of Noah were the ancestors of all the people on earth. Noah, who was a farmer, was the first man to plant a vineyard. After he drank some of the wine, he became drunk, took off his clothes, and lay naked in his tent. When Ham, the father of Canaan, saw that his father was naked, he went out and told his two brothers. Then Shem and Japheth took a robe and held it behind them on their shoulders. They walked backward into the tent and covered their father, keeping their faces turned away so as not to see him naked. When Noah sobered up and learned what his youngest son had done to him, he said, "A curse on Canaan, he will be a slave to his brothers. Give praise to the Lord, the God of Shem. Canaan will be the slave of Shem. May God cause Japheth to increase. May his descendants live with the people of Shem. Canaan will be the slave of Japheth." After the flood, Noah lived 350 years and died at the age of 950. The descendants of Noah's sons. These are the descendants of Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. These three have sons after the flood. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tyrus were the ancestors of the people who bear their names. The descendants of Gomer were the people of Ashkenaz. Rephath and Togarmah, the descendants of Javan, were the people of Elisha, Spain, Cyprus, and Rhodes. They were the ancestors of the people who live along the coast and on the islands. These are the descendants of Japheth, living in their different tribes and countries, each group speaking its own language. The sons of Ham, Cush, Egypt, Libra, and Canaan were the ancestors of the peoples who bear their names. The descendants of Cush were the people of Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Ramah, and Sabtika. The descendants of Ramah were the people of Sheba and Dedum. Cush had a son named Nimrod, who became the world's first great conqueror. By the Lord's help, he was a great hunter, and this is why people said, "May the Lord make you as great a hunter as Nimrod." At first, his kingdom included Babylon, Erech, and Akkad, all three of them in Babylon. From that land, he went to Assyria and built the cities of Nineveh, Rehoboth, Kahab, and Rezin, which is between Nineveh and the great city of Calah. The descendants of Egypt were the people of Lydia, Anam, Lehi, Naptu, Pathros, Cashu, and of Crete, from whom the Philistines are descended. Canaan's sons, Sidon, the oldest, and Heth, were the ancestors of the people who bear their names. Canaan was also the ancestor of the Jebusites, the Amorites, the Girgashites, the Hivites, the Arkites and Sinites, the Arvadites, the Zemarites, and the Hamathites. The different tribes of the Canaanites spread out until the Canaanite borders reached from Sidon southward to Gerar near Gaza, and eastward to Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zebodah near Lasha. These are the descendants of Ham, living in their different tribes and countries, each group speaking its own language. Shem, the older brother of Japheth, was the ancestor of all the Hebrews. Shem's sons Elam, Ashur, Arphaxad, Lud, and Aram were the ancestors of the peoples who bear their names. The descendants of Aram were the people of Uz, Hul, Gether, and Meshach. Arphaxad was the father of Shihah, who was the father of Eber. Eber had two sons. One was named Peleg, because during his time the people of the world were divided, and the other was named Joktan. The descendants of Joktan were the people of Almodad, Sheleph, Hazarmaveth, and Gerar. Hadaman, Uzzah, Dikah, Obal, Abimael, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, and Jobab. All of them were descendants from Joktan. The land in which they lived descended from Mesha to Sephar in the eastern hill country. These are the descendants of Shem, living in their different tribes and countries, each group speaking its own language. All these peoples are the descendants of Noah, nation by nation, according to their different lines of descendant. After the flood, all the nations of the earth were descended from the sons of Noah. The Tower of Babylon. At first, the people of the whole world had only one language and used the same words. As they wandered about in the east, they came to a plain in Babylonia and settled there. They said to one another, "Come on, let's make bricks and bake them hard." So they had bricks to build with and tar to hold them together. They said, "Now let's build a city with a tower that reaches the sky so that we can make a name for ourselves and not be scattered all over the earth." Then the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which those men had built, and he said, "Now then, these are all one people and they speak one language. This is just the beginning of what they are going to do. Soon they will be able to do anything they want. Let us go down and mix up their languages so that they will not understand each other." So the Lord scattered them all over the earth, and they stopped building the city. The city was called Babylon, because there the Lord mixed up the language of all the people, and from there he scattered them all over the earth. The descendants of Shem. These are the descendants of Shem. 2 years after the flood, when Shem was 100 years old, he had a son, Arphaxad. After that, he lived another 500 years and had other children. When Arphaxad was 35 years old, he had a son, Shelah, after which he lived another 403 years and had other children. When Shelah was 30 years old, he had a son, Eber. After that, he lived another 403 years and had other children. When Eber was 34 years old, he had a son, Peleg. After that, he lived another 430 years and had other children. When Peleg was 30 years old, he had a son, Reu. After that, he lived another 209 years and had other children. When Reu was 32 years old, he had a son, Serug. After that, he lived 207 years and had other children. When Serug was 30 years old, he had a son, Nahor. After that, he lived another 200 years and had other children. When Nahor was 29 years old, he had a son, Terah. After that, he lived another 119 years and had other children. After Terah was 70 years old, he became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. The descendants of Terah. These are the descendants of Terah, who was the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Haran was the father of Lot, and Haran died in his hometown of Ur in Babylonia, while his father was still living. Abram married Sarai, and Nahor married Milcah, the daughter of Haran, who was also the father of Iskab. Sarai was not able to have children. Terah took his son Abram, his grandson Lot, who was the son of Haran, and his daughter-in-law, Sarai, Abram's wife, and with them he left the city of Ur in Babylonia to go to the land of Canaan. They went as far as Haran and settled there. Terah died there at the age of 205. God's call to Abram. The Lord said to Abram, Leave your country, your relatives, and your father's home, and go to a land that I am going to show you. I will give you many descendants, and they will become a great nation. I will bless you and make your name famous, so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, but I will curse those who curse you, and through you I will bless all the nations. When Abram was 75 years old, he started out from Haran, as the Lord had told him to do, and Lot went with him. Abram took his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, and all the wealth and all the slaves they had acquired in Haran, and they started out for the land of Canaan. When they arrived in Canaan, Abram traveled through the land until he came to the sacred tree of Moreh, the holy place at Shechem. At that time, the Canaanites were still living in the land. The Lord appeared to Abram and said to him, "This is the country that I am going to give to your descendants." Then Abram built an altar there to the Lord, who had appeared to him. After that, he moved on south to the hill country east of the city of Bethel and set up his camp between Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. They also had built an altar and worshipped the Lord. Then he moved on from the place to place, going toward the southern part of Canaan, Abram in Egypt. But there was a famine in Canaan, and it was so bad that Abram went farther south to Egypt to live there for a while. When he was about to cross the border into Egypt, he said to his wife Sarai, "You are a beautiful woman. When the Egyptians see you, they will assume that you are my wife, and so they will kill me and let you live. Tell them that you are my sister then, because of you they will let me live and treat me well." When he crossed the border into Egypt, the Egyptians did see that his wife was beautiful. Some of the court officials saw her and told the king how beautiful she was. So she was taken to his palace. Because of her, the king treated Abram well and gave him flocks of sheep and goats, cattle, donkeys, slaves, and camels. But because the king had taken Sarai, the Lord sent terrible diseases to him and on the people of his palace. Then the king sent for Abram and asked him, "What have you done to me? Why didn't you tell me that she was your wife? Why did you say that she was your sister and let me take her as my wife? Here is your wife. Take her and get out." The king gave orders to his men, so they took Abram and put him out of the country, together with his wife and everything he owned. This is the word of the Lord.